He is an economist, and George Mburu, who is the CEO of Mzizi Homes Africa Limited, just talking to these particular issues at this point. George, let me come to you very quickly on this because, as we said, affordable housing was one of the pillars as far as the Big Four is concerned. In terms of government attention to this pillar as an operator, in the space of real estate and construction, are you getting, at least because they're focusing on that, the incentives needed to also produce more homes, make them cost effective and have this done? Or is it just good on paper but not on the ground?
Yeah, thank you very much. Affordable housing being one of the Big Four agendas by the Jubilee government is something that is very commendable. And for one, the government itself cannot be able to actually finish the deficit that is there. Because the deficit that we had when they were coming with up with the agenda is that we have a deficit of 2 million houses, and every year 200,000 units more are needed because there is an increase in population. And they had envisioned to do 500,000 units by the time the 5th term is ending. And which means from the 2 million, if they did the 500,000, there will still be a deficit of 1.5 plus the 200 that are coming annually. So this means that also the private sector has to play a role. Just the same way that we have public schools and we also have private schools. We also have to get involved as private developers in large numbers and also copy from what the government is doing and also do it. We assist the government. Just the way we have public schools and we have private schools. So we also need to have affordable housing being done by the government. They also do their part. They do the 500,000 units. And we as the private developers also in assisting the government finish up this deficit, we get involved and we also play our part. And we as like Mzizi Africa Homes Limited, we can be taken like a pilot. We have done our pilot test and we have seen that people, they are really interested in owning affordable houses. They only need somebody who they can trust. They need somebody who they know that will be accountable. Once they give their money, they are in a position to come and inspect. Is the money going to the right thing? Like for us, we normally give, you pay an initial deposit of, let's say 1.5, then the balance you pay as we do the construction, okay. And we give the customer the liberty, come inspect. Is it as per we agreed? Yeah. Okay,
but also from a government point of view, as Mzizi or other real estate players in the space, are you getting any particular specific incentives to make sure you move this particular pillar of the Big Four agenda forward, or is it business as usual, even before it was part of the government's agenda?
Yeah, sure. At the moment, we as private sectors, we are assisting the government, but at the moment there has not been any special treatment or any incentives to assist on the same, of which it is something that I can call upon the government. Let us also support, the same way we support private schools. You see, private schools, they are treated somehow like they are government schools. So let us also look at this sector like somebody who is coming to assist fill the deficit that the government is trying. So we have some incentives, we have some laws that are encouraging. If the government can take it as a policy, yes, we encourage this is a private developer, but we are encouraging and we are actually giving incentives like for the construction materials, we are giving them at a subsidized price. They don't have to pay like cement, the tax, they don't have to pay the steel because we find cement, steel, those are some of the most expensive things, of which those can be reduced in price, and we will find that by so doing we'll be able to give more people affordable houses, and we'll be able to fill up this gap.
Okay. Job, let me come to you, because one thing that came to the fore right around the world in terms of COVID is the need to boost each country's manufacturing sector, so that if borders are closed, because you saw a huge supply chain issue, you can actually produce most of these things internally. Have we taken these lessons to heart in terms of the manufacturing sector here? Are we trying to do that? Is government enabling this? What's the status of that? Because this is 12 months on. Have they looked at how, if we get into such a situation, we can actually now produce instead of trying to scramble and find where we can import these particular products from?
Yeah, one thing or one clarion call we have and we had from the onset is that we should not waste this pandemic. We should pick lessons and run with them. We have ensured that the gaps that arose from March from a supply chain and value chain perspective have been addressed, fixed, at the same time picking some of the opportunities that are coming up. From March to around May, personal protective equipment were very expensive, even when we're talking about the mask that we put on. It was going for 100 shillings plus. At the moment, you can find a mask at 10 shillings or even less because of the local production that is happening. If you're talking about the molecules or medicinal molecules, we have enhanced the production of such molecules in the country so that if there is another disruption that would come, not necessarily the COVID, we don't have to source all the drugs internationally, but we can do these locally. When we're talking about the motor vehicle production, we have seen some prototypes coming in the country, being supported by some of the counties, and also Kenya Association of Manufacturers coming into the space so that we can work together with the government or the central government and see how this can be enhanced. What we are looking for, and is a question that we need to address critically, is the sustainability of such initiatives. Such initiatives cannot go to the next step or to the next stage without proper framework of incentives that are provided either by the government or are provided by the international players. And by doing this, it is going to invoke a sustainability or policy stability into some of those areas. Something else as Kenya Association of Manufacturers that we are doing, we have come up with a site that is matching up the suppliers and the demand side in such a way that if some of the goods that one otherwise thought that they're not available locally, and during this period has been revealed that they are available locally, then they can source them from here. And subsequently, you find that by having that demand, then from the other side of the manufacturing sector, you find that the production is likely to increase. And at this, we are looking at how we can operate at what is called the economies of scale, because the higher the production, the lower the cost per unit. At the end, you invoke now the price competitiveness. At the end of the day, you find that the consumers are getting goods at fair prices. So we are also asking, because I've talked about the value chain and the supply chain, we are also asking for Kenyans to embrace what is locally manufactured, so that by doing this, it is our sisters and our brothers and our sons and our daughters that are getting these jobs.
Okay, so it's also an appeal to the Kenyan to buy Kenya.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Reggie, when you spoke right before we went to the break, you spoke about looking at a business model where it's more labor intensive, less capital intensive. What does that look like practically? Because when you look at it, some people are saying the best example Kenyans got of that was Kazi kwa Vijana, or now called Kazi Mtaani. And they say this is not sustainable because this was like a Marshall Plan measure, because they'll be at home for quite a while, give them something to do, give them some income. Is that what they're looking at, a longer project of such nature, or what would that look like, moving from capital intensive to labor intensive from where you stand?
We're looking at one, again, sustainable jobs. How many times are you going to clean a trench? Once you clean it today, it's clean. You have to wait for it to get clogged up again, and ideally it should not get clogged up if it has been done properly. But to give an example, when I say labor intensive, our goal should be to increase the labor coverage in the economy. So when we do manufacturing, yes, instead of rushing to do a fully automated plant, do a plant where you can employ people. Yeah. So let me give you an example. If and I like using agriculture, some farmer somewhere is farming their maize and all. What tools do they need to do that farming on that farm? Let's say they need a tractor, and the tractor needs whatever it needs to be connected to the plows and all that. So that's one driver who is able to do a larger piece of land. But if you now move away from the farm itself, why are we having Volvo coming to assemble Volvos and not have a tractor assemble plant in Nandi? Yeah? We're an agricultural-based economy. We are not an F1 formula-based economy that we need Volvos and stuff like that. Why don't we have a tractor assembly plant? Why don't we have a tractor manufacturing plant? If you can maybe not manufacture the whole tractor, why can't we say, let's put an EPZ in Machakos, and you guys in Machakos, you are going to manufacture ball bearings for tractors. You guys in the Juakali sector, we need these blades that go into this type of tractors that are used in the farming. Yeah, so this guy now who is doing his metal work and stuff like that knows that he's now creating employment. He's increasing the coverage of labor. So you increase the coverage of labor in the value chain and in the supply chain. Mm-hmm. So the guy has done his maize and all that stuff. Let's go to value addition of that maize. That's another sector that can employ people. Maybe there's a guy who's just doing the milling, the packaging. So that means there's someone who has to make the packaging. So that's employment that is being that is being created. So by labor intensive, we're meaning creating opportunities that increase the coverage of labor. Because where we are at, you need people to be employed. Mm-hmm. Because when people have employed, they have income in their pockets. When people have income in their pockets, demand starts increasing. So they'll start saying, okay, now I have income in my pocket. I think I need a cell phone, mm-hmm. or I need a radio. Yeah, and that's when Kenya Association of Manufacturers come in and say, why are we importing cell phones? Why can't we make cell phones? There's a sufficient demand for that, and you can produce at a scale where your unit cost is lower. And as income increases, demand also increases. As demand increases, it puts pressure on the manufacturers to expand capacity. And as they're expanding capacity, one, they can either now automate or employ more people. But in expanding capacity, that's what you call now aggregate investment. When a manufacturer increases his plant size, that's investment. Because this is now an investment that will continue being used going into the future. Okay. What does that do? It allows us to grow from a low base. Yeah. So the growth might seem low, but when it picks up like a complete J up. Because you have a lot of people, you've created a middle income that actually has income, and your lower income actually has income. Let me give you some few numbers. Of the 2.7 million Kenyans that are formally employed, only 4.9% earn over 100,000. Yeah, that's like 800,000 people in a population of 47 million. Only around 800,000 earn above 100. And that 4.9, if you now whittle down how many actually earn above 250, you are going down to 2%, 1%. A recent study that was done, to be in the top 1% in Kenya, you only need $20,000. That's 2 million shillings. In South Africa, you need $187,000. That's 18 million. Mm-hmm. So if you look at your top 1%, to enter the top 1%, you only need $20,000, which cannot even buy you a one-bedroom apartment. Minimum wage in the country is 13,000 shillings. An average one-bedroom apartment is 12,000 shillings. That just gives you a sign that even if you build a big manufacturing plant, you do not have sufficient demand to sustain whatever. And that's why you find most multinationals come. And Job can attest to that. They come, start with a big tin of Milo. Yeah? Realize there is no purchase for that. Goes to the half tin. Realize there's no purchase for that. Goes to the small tin. Realize there's still no purchase. He realizes, oh, most people are actually buying sachets. The guy thinks, why am I setting up a manufacturing plant to do sachets? And that's why now you import your chocolates, you import your oranges, you import your Colgate, we import a lot of things because doesn't make sense to set a manufacturing plant when there is no demand locally. So, and the only way you grow demand is by employment coverage and not building expressways and railway tracks.
Let me, I can see you have an issue with the expressway and the SGR as well, Reggie, on
yes,
that, from a cost point of view. It's
treating symptoms. Even the housing, affordable housing, is treating symptoms, not treating the cause.
Okay, let me get Job in on this as well, because some people don't understand, even when it comes to our capacity in terms of manufacturing. And this is, I'm sure you see it on social media. And at one point, I had to actually go and ascertain it for myself. When it comes to things like even toothpicks, we're importing from China. I mean, surely, where do we get the disconnect there? Is it a protectionist issue that some things the government will just say, we can't import this? Because some things we can do here. Where do we go wrong? Because it seems like we'll import everything, and China is right now the darling of the world, and they will export everything to Kenya. Where do we go wrong?
The answer lies in unconducive business environment. You find that in the country, the cost competitiveness is not there. There is an index called Competitiveness Industrial Performance Index that is generated by UNIDO after 2 years. On that index, Kenya is ranked 115th position out of a possible 152 countries that participate in it. If you look at the ease of doing business, though that report has not been released this year, and I think part of last year, the last release we were at 56th position. Though it was an improvement, but you'll find that we are lagging behind some of the African countries. In these, and especially in the Competitiveness Industrial Performance Index, with the one that I said that we are at 115th position, it shows that there are many other countries that are way ahead of us as far as competitiveness is concerned. In the country, you find that our taxation is very high, the taxation rate. Out of a possible 50 million people, only 3.9 or 4 million people are paying taxes in this country. And you find that now the government is likely to over-concentrate on those 3.9 or 4 million people instead of looking at how it can widen the tax base. And when it tries now to widen the tax base, it gives something like now the minimum tax I was talking about, that again comes and disrupts the 3.9, which are million people who are already compliant, instead of looking at how we can concentrate on those who are above the 4 million people. Because if you look at also the voters register, we have 19 million Kenyans who are registered. That means we have 19 adults, 19 million adults. If you subtract the 4 million, 15 million are not paying taxes in the country, and they are over the age of 18 years. And this is the mix that is bringing the competitiveness issue, because like now the taxation issue is very high. If you look at the illicit trade, again, it is something else that we need to address further. Illicit trade in the country takes 40% of the manufacturing market share. And subsequently you find it is a disincentive for any logical investor to come to the country, whereby they know that at the end of the day, the imported goods that are illicitly traded, talk of contrabands, talk of underdeclared, under-invoiced, talk of the substandard goods, all this, because it's a set of illicit trade. It's the one that is affecting the investors who can come into the manufacturing sector, not come and set the base here. So there's a lot of commitment that we need from the government, from enforcement, from policy stability, from lower or conducive fiscal policy as far as the taxation and the expenditure of the government is concerned.
Okay,
yeah.
I want to get George in on this one as well very quickly as we move forward. We have maybe 10 minutes to go as we wind up, so gentlemen, we'll keep our answers short as we move. George, from where we stand right now, there's also the issue of even issues like just getting a title deed. We've seen reduced activity in Ministry of Lands at that particular point in time, holding on to more of these title deeds and trying to clean up the registry as far as that's concerned. How is it looking right now for even those people who actually want to go ahead and own a home or buy a piece of land and build their home?
Yeah, thank you very much. It's good to give credit where it's due, not to always look at the negative side. And in the issue of titles, I'm actually very happy to say that the government is working very hard to ensure that titles are issued and on time, and they're also making sure that they want to make it a title is the same, which is very commendable. And there is also a law that was passed whereby even if you own an apartment, you are given your title, and that title you can use it to secure your loan or do whatever, which is very commendable. So I'm happy on the issue of the titles, and I encourage the government to continue digitalizing the titles, continue giving titles even to the apartments, because it will ensure that the real estate sector, which is one of the biggest potential, something that we can tap into and get so much money out of it, because we have seen other places. We have seen a place like Dubai, people are going in large ways and they are building skyscrapers and people are buying, and this is something that we can replicate back here at home. And I've also seen people who are interested in understanding the real estate. You find that you don't have to start your own company as a developer. You can come, we join hands, start with one house, that is your house, then get another house that you are using as a business, and you can resell and make your profit, and also assist somebody else who maybe did not have the money or didn't have the capacity to go and get a loan, and you also sell to them at also an affordable price. Okay. And when you do that, we'll be creating employment, because these houses are being constructed by people, and the materials that we are using are being manufactured in manufacturing companies. So we have created jobs, and we have also removed the problem of housing. And by so doing, we also have many investors, not only investors that are here in Kenya. We'll have Kenyans that are in the diaspora investing back at home, thereby giving us the much needed the dollar and the other foreign currencies. We'll also have investors, foreign investors. I have seen people that are interested in coming and doing whatever we are doing off-plan. We construct together, they resell at a profit, and it is something that can attract even foreign investors. And by so doing, we are going to make sure that we stabilize our economy. And it's also important to have whatever we're having, like roads, railway lines. We need to look at it from a broader perspective. And being a player, Mrs. Africa Homes Limited, I commend the government for the titles, the issuing of titles of everything, and also the roads, because it is opening up areas that initially those places were not accessible. Okay. Yeah, so okay. I give the government credit where it has done well.
Okay, George. We have 3 minutes to go. Amazing how time flies on this one. Very quickly, gentlemen, Reggie, I want you to speak in a minute or so. Petrol prices hitting historic high today. The last time they went up, Kenyans are already up in arms saying, what is going on? And the CS said, yes, you're complaining now, but chances are they'll rise again. And here, yeah, true to his word. When does this stop? Is it a global oil price issue, or is it the tax issue? Because when you break it down, we see, as of last time, you were paying more for tax and levies than the actual product in your car or wherever you're using it. Is that still the same issue? It's
going to be the same. The taxes are not going away. Government needs revenue. As I said, they need to find ways, and petroleum products become an easy catchment area for them to tax. But petrol prices will continue going up, I think, for the next 3 to 4 months. Because you need to understand the cycle of importing petrol. We don't buy it every month. It's about 3 months in advance. So if you look at the lending price for petrol last month, was reflecting petrol prices globally in December. This month you will see reflecting lending price will be reflecting global petrol prices in January. So, and petrol prices have been going up since December until now. So definitely the petrol price is going to continue going up. And the taxes are a function of the lending cost, unfortunately. And it's also unfortunate because, again, as I said, sometimes we look at symptoms in terms of having forward-looking projections. We know that the largest part of our import bill is actually petroleum products. Why not increase the storage capacity in the country? Because then we would have taken advantage of low petrol prices last year by storing cheaper petrol, and now maybe releasing that cheaper petrol into the market to even out prices. But I guess we never think that way.
Job, let me come to you even as we bring this discussion to a close from where we stand. We are seeing the indicators pretty negative right now. I mean, look at the petrol prices. This will definitely affect the players of your association as well, and they'll pass on that cost. As we wind up, is there a light at the end of the tunnel? Job, is there something as a business operator they can do? If there's a CS who's watching, they should be thinking about what's your clarion call on that?
As a country, we should always remain optimistic. But again, the governance system must be serious and must be committed towards the optimism that the Kenyans can show. So it's just a question of ensuring that we are fixing our political arm with the government. And in these, like when you're talking about the petroleum prices, probably we can have a capped price of the petroleum product where you can say, because there's a formula that was enacted by the parliament that is also affecting us, whereby we can say that if the international prices get up to this level, then as a government we'll have to address the taxation issue, because you'll find like now on that oil prices, the power cost is going to be disrupted. The transportation cost is going to be disrupted. Some people are even thinking of stopping now to leave their cars home. I talked with two friends of mine who normally fuel my car in one of the petrol stations, and they were calling me by telling me that they have been laid off because cars are no longer on the roads. So there is ripple effect as a question of, again, I'm coming to the government. looking at how it can address the taxation issue.
Okay. I think that's where we'll have to mind this conversation at that particular point in time, of course. As we said, a Herculean task for CS Ukuri Atani moving forward in these very unprecedented times. But again, many thanks for the invaluable discussions we've had in the Insight. Job Manjohi, thank you so much. Rangel Kazutu, George Mburu as well. Thank you so much for weighing in on this one. And of course, as I can see your tweets coming in on this one, you keep the conversation going online. You can get me at I am Jeff Mote or K24 TV. We take a short break now. When you come back after the break, it's all about interactive. Shiko and Buffy will be in studio. Don't go too far. Back after the break.